All right. So hopefully this works. Good afternoon. I'm Rick. I'm an alcoholic. I'm always going to interview myself and introduce myself actually. So getting everything also set up, learning how this whole thing works with YouTube live. Hopefully you guys uh, can hear me. Slowly putting everything together little by little. So if you look at the title on here, aftermath has to change. So what does that mean? So is doing research. This is let me back up. This might be a little bit different from most. Is usually, I'm trying to help with recovery, but what I'm noticing more and more first responders are going through recovery rehab themselves. So we're going to do a little bit of attention. This is originally for first responders, but it's also for their families. And like I said, it's for everybody in general because we could pull and learn from each other. So, for instance, I go to AA. When I go to AA, it's about 95% civilians. The others, like first responders, veterans, military, all of that. But I still can learn because, again, all in all, addiction don't care who you are, um, what your career is, what your family status is. They don't care if you're making millions or 70,000 a year. They don't care. It destroys equally. So, but today I was wanted to put a little bit more on first responders today. So this is also for the families. So doing research the other day, I noticed I looked for 2024 first responder suicides. Why? And I'll let you know in a minute. Last year, I believe I read 143 documented suicides happened last year nationwide to first responders. And that's 143. That's unacceptable. Everybody says, oh, let's try to drop it lower, lower, lower. To me, the acceptable number is zero. So that what does that mean? That's 143 families without a loved one, 143 communities without a first responder, 143 cities without a first responder, and 143 departments without a first responder. So that's unacceptable rating. And this goes into the next step. So I call this the terrible threes: um, alcohol addiction or just addiction, but we'll just say addiction and overall, depression and suicide. Those three, they go hand in hand. They're the triplets, the terrible triplets. One's always there, creeping around the corner behind another. And if you look at the statistics, you don't need to look at books or be a statistics major. You just Google this. That's or go to AA, go to rehab, talk to people, and you'll see that that's how it starts. Depression, addiction, increase the rate of suicide. And that's not right. That's unacceptable. The aftermath has to change. We can do better. So, what's the aftermath? The aftermath or the fallout is the baggage that we carry on this job. We're always taught in the academies, oh, never take your work home. Your work stays at work, home life stays at home. So look, no, I try to use a proper analogy here. Work, you can never leave at home. I mean, you'll never leave at work. It always comes home. It don't have to be the big brunt of it. Some people carry it and they walk through the door. To me, I look at it as like the Great Pyramids in Egypt. Over time, when you look at the pictures and how they look, or try to look at the pictures, science, but we're not going to go there. Beautiful. Over time, what happens? Sand builds up. Nothing is cared for. Next thing you know, what happens? Here's the pyramids. Sand, 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 sand. Completely engulfed. That's us. If you look at it, all you first responders, brothers and sisters out there, and families, this is for the families because I feel and families understanding us is equally important, if not greater, sometimes to a certain extent. Um, we carry the shit home, part of my French. We carry everything home with us, regardless of whatever. And what aggravates me, and I talk to departments nationwide, um, their academies nationwide, all we talk about is EMS, fire tactics, fire ground survival, or law enforcement. I'm not sure what you guys really go talk about, but I know it's the academy and law enforcement's related material, because that's what we specialize in, right? Not once. Now, let me take a back step. I went through the Philadelphia Fire Department 2 times. Graduated '07, left after 3.5 years, just left military college, came back on in 2015, graduated 16. Both times we never really focused on taking care of ourselves. We never really, even when I came back on in 190, things really didn't much evolve. And I talked to other members when I was in rehab, and I still correspond with them by texting and just random calls and just checking on each other. Nothing has changed. Um, we don't really focus on our well-being as a member or as a first responder. They don't focus on it. So this whole analogy of we all go to work together, we come home together, we go to a call together, we return to the station together. We don't always return back. We all have back calls, whether it's fire or EMS calls. And if you look at the calls, there's not a lot of fire. There is fire, but there's not a lot of fire. And yes, we have bad calls. There's fire, ground deaths, all that. Yes, I get that. But most of our calls are heavy EMS, and we see a lot of stuff. I mean, if you're from big cities, look at the amount of fire calls compared to EMS. EMS is always high demand, as they always say. That is the money maker. That is a bill payer for the department. They always say that. The stuff we see is not normal. The stuff we see is messed up, and the stuff we see carries on. It's like the sands, right? It just slowly builds up. But when we're in the academy, they don't really focus on that too much. They don't, maybe what, 1 day, 2 days. But then after that, it's gone. It don't exist. When I was in rehab at the Hog, one of their counselors, Mitch, always said, do a checkup from the neck up. We always never check up from the neck up. Meaning if we're not healthy mentally, we're not healthy 100%. It's fact, right? It don't matter if you're lifting weights, you're running, you're just in great physical shape, but if you're not healthy up here, you're really not healthy at all. Health is everything. Let's go one step further: mind, body, spirit. It's an effect. We can be physically in shape, but let's look at that. What happens when you start getting depressed? PTSD builds up, depression builds up. We start drinking, or we start drugging. And then what happens? Our mind ain't right, our spirit ain't right. And then what happens? The next step, we don't get help. We don't listen to our loved ones. Suicide, higher chance. So we had to start doing a checkup from the neck up. We have to. And we have to start learning how to be healthy with handling PTSD, stress, our emotions. A lot of us, we go through that. We live in a department where, and this is the next step, as a first responder families, we in the department, we feel we don't talk about what we see because and we hear everybody, don't bring that home. Keep that to yourself, kid. Da-da-da-da-da. Don't pile that on your family. Da-da-da. We hear all that. Let me tell you something, guys. Family is there for a reason. They may never truly understand what we see, but if you're married, and let me take a step real quick. Anybody out there who is married to a first responder, dating a first responder, divorced from a first responder, please tell us how you leave it in the remarks, how you guys handled or still handle what's going on or how you guys are overcoming it as a team, because this is an open channel. So every bit of help, every bit of information, it does help. It's a community that is supposed to help where we all lean on each other. So yes, please do that. But guys, when we come home, our families know us. If you're married, they know what's bothering you. If your family's reaching out, a lot of guys on the job, girls on the job, I hear, man, nobody understands, nobody cares, nobody wants to check up on me. But yet, when you come home, what's the first one that your loved ones see? What's going on? Are you okay? They ask you this. Listen to them. You want to talk about it. You don't have to go into the gory details. You can talk about your feelings, your emotions, how it's affecting you. That's what a checkup from the neck up is supposed to be about. We have to find a way to talk, and we live in a how can I say this? We are part of a department where it's a lot of ego. There, I know a lot of people is going to be angry and upset and say, "No, it's not." Okay, it is ego. We don't talk about it because we want that tough person complex, But yeah, all these old heads, for you younger guys, don't talk about it, kid. You don't need to talk to anybody. Look at me. I've been on a job 20 plus years. I'm okay. But yet, these are the same ones that go and they pound alcohol. What'd you do last night? "Oh, I just drank till I couldn't sleep, or I drank till I couldn't walk." That's not healthy. Those are the first people that start health declining when they get off the job. Improper handling of stress. They don't know how to handle the emotions or the PTSD. They're the ones that may not go to rehab during their career, but right after, they're the first ones that go. I see it all the time. First ones that go. Um, but in the academies, we're not taught this. We're taught basically touch up. Touch on it because it's what's expected and then is no longer focused on. Guys, it's very important that we equally take care of ourselves mentally and physically and spiritually. It's there for a reason, but especially on this job, we got to have a positive way of handling this. If you're bottling it up and bottling it up, it's going to go downhill real quick, real fast, real dark, split second. When you notice yourself getting short with your family, drinking, we work in departments, both fire and police, EMS, where every day is a drink. What happens? Oh, you want to go talk about it? Let's go have a drink. And then you're not talking about nothing. You're just adding fuel to the fire. Think about it. You're depressed. You're going through stuff, and you're drinking. A depressant is throwing fuel to the fire. And now, yes, I've seen it all. Now you might be a member that explodes on your girl, your kids. Now you're putting hands on them. I've seen it. It's out there. Bad thing is you don't hear about it because it gets swept under the carpet. But it's fact. It's fact. I've seen it. That's not good. When you're going so downhill and you're no longer you and you're not listening and you're throwing out there to the families, hey, you just don't understand. You think I'm changing, I'm not, but they know you. And it's not fair on the families one bit that you're not, as a first responder, you're not handling your shit. Pardon my French, you're not handling yourself. Um, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to your wife, your husband, your significant other, your kids. It's not fair. You got to understand, we're not in the departments, we're not discussed. That's not heavily discussed. They always talk about the glory and the rush and this and that. That's all ego. You have to also look at the bad side of the job. Bad side of the job is we see stuff. Bad side of the job is it builds up. Bad side of the job, we drink a lot or we drug a lot. Bad side of the job, we don't deal with our PTSD because we do get it. Depression, we don't deal with it in a healthy manner. And then it spirals out of control. It's not fair to the families or loved ones to have to deal with that. We come on this job, we are aware of the side effects, the repercussions. Not everything's golden. It's not. Not everything's light. There's dark with that. It's nature. How you handle it is what matters most. There's so much information out there, but it is pride and it is ego. It is trying to look like a tough person, tough man, tough woman, tough guy, tough girl. I don't care. You're trying to act tough to fit in, but behind closed doors, bad stuff's brewing. And this is where aftermath has to change. We've got to be proactive. The aftermath of not handling yourself right and getting the help you need is in not being proactive is you're going to get written up. You could lose your job. You could lose your family. And what happens? And then you start drinking more. And then you start drinking more. You're not handling it the right way. And what's aggravating is the numbers are out there. The information is out there. And I feel a little way about nationwide where stuff's not being handled properly. We're seeing these numbers increase. We're seeing them in the magazines and in the fire communities and the police communities. 20, well, the effects. And it's not fair to these families where we're grown people not handling our stuff right. We let it spiral out of control so far that now, is there a way out? Yes. Is there a possibility of having a good outcome? Definitely. But you're burying yourself under that sand rather than cleaning it up. You're not cleaning up your walkway. You're not sweeping the stuff aside and throwing it out and getting the help or the proper tools to clean it up. I'm not saying compartmentalize and push it and set it aside. We're talking about go get help, go talk, find positive ways. Look, it's fact. If you have a dog, come home. Pet the dog, hug the dog, walk the dog. Tell you, a 20-minute walk around the neighborhood is such a relief. I mean, your family will understand. Let me just walk the dog. That could be your cue to your family saying, oh, he had a rough day or she had a rough day. Hold on. A lot of times they say, sit in the car, take a breathe. I don't buy that because now you're sitting in the car festering on the day's events. Go out, walk, talk. Don't, if you're going to talk, don't put alcohol in it. You're not going to get nothing done. And it's going to be there. You got to have the healthy way to talk. Now, what gets me is, part of that problem is we belong in a department that preaches brotherhood nationwide. And elaborate nationwide, where they preach brotherhood, sisterhood, family, camaraderie. I don't know what kind of banners other departments, but if you had certain banners like that, or if you're told the same, please leave a remark. But when you're in the field, how many of you have really felt that? And be open, be honest. How many of you really felt that amongst your team? When we're talking about not going out and having the fun stuff, we're talking about when stuff gets serious and hairy and you need to have somebody. How many? Maybe a handful, but not very many, because not very many people want to deal with the bad stuff. They don't. But again, it goes back to that when I was in the military, when people had issues or their depression, you know, we didn't drink. That was our first rule in the barracks. If somebody was going through problems, no alcohol. And sad to say, I sort of fell off that. I went against that later. When I became an alcoholic, all that went. But we live and we learn. When we were in the military, somebody was going through problems. He would say, no alcohol. Let's talk. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to dinner. No alcohol. Because then you can think about clear with a clear head and a clear mind and neck up, check up, and you get a lot more accomplished and you feel better, you know. But not everybody is like that. And I've noticed a lot of people I've talked to on the jobs, different jobs from Detroit to New York. I've known a couple of firefighters from Baltimore, a couple from the other cops, other fire law enforcement that was all the way out from Ohio, a couple Cleveland and all of them, some even from California. Um, and they all say the same thing. It's hard to really talk to people because they don't want to deal with, they don't want not deal with, but help you be somebody that could listen and give you point or just an ear. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to glory. We're firefighters, supposed to fight fire, and that's it, and save lives. Ugh. But you're leaving people behind, and that's not fair to the families. Yes, families. Your wife, your brother, your sister, your mom, your whoever. They're great to listen. They're great. They'll give you. They'll help you, and sometimes that's all you need. But what helps it better is talking to people who see it. You're not reliving it. There's a difference. There's not reliving it. And in some cases, reliving it, and some other people helps them heal because they're reliving it and they're accepting. So it's different. Some people have different ways of doing stuff. But the aftermath has to change. We cannot be having people coming home festering, and then we get a phone call, so and so committed suicide. You know, another member down. We gotta be way more proactive and than reactive. And even then, I've noticed a lot of times when things happen, we're reactive for a short time, and then it's forgotten about, and then nothing changes. It's like a short second. It changes for a second, but nothing's continued, and then the cycle continues. We got to do better as a team. We are, as on the fire department and the police, I feel we are each other's front line. There's a reason why they had the phalanx. I went over this, or the shield wall, and it just wasn't applied in the midst of combat. It's applied in everyday life. You're looking to your brother and sister to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back. When they say watch your six, I got your six. It's not I got your six in the battlefield, clearing a room or doing an operation or movements. It's not I got your six on the fire ground or at a traffic stop. It's I got your six off duty as well. That's exactly what that means. That's what that means. Nobody gets left behind. And we got to do better. This aftermath of not talking about our feelings, and it sounds hokey. Oh man, we ain't talking about our emotions. We're men. We're strong, or even we're firefighters. That's bullshit. Part of my French. You gotta put all that egotistical crap aside. That's what's killing us. Seriously, that is what's killing us. Before we could have a chance to retire, we should all have a long, healthy career to enjoy. Our families, yes, along the way, it's not going to be perfect, but given the right tools, and also for the families, man, like who's out there for families? How many members out there or members of family reach out to another family member who's dealing with the same stuff you possibly dealt with 5 years ago? So they don't even know what to do when stuff gets hairy. They don't know how to respond. And rather than respond, everybody's emotionally reacting, making matter, adding more fuel to the fire because emotions are out of control. There's a difference between responding and reacting. Responding is having the proper tools, the guidance, control to sit back and analyze and look and think. How can we do this and respond accordingly, but be supportive? Reaction, a lot of it is emotional. It's you're reacting off of emotions and anger and hurt and pain, and you're not having your time to sit back and process and then come up with a game plan. Um, it can't be like that. We got to do better. This aftermath that's affecting the families and members is not right. How many times have we gone to work and we see our buddy upset, depressed, stressed out, shutting down? That's the first sign. Everybody who works in here, who if you really know your team, you know what's bothering them. But yet people don't ask. They'll be all right. They'll be okay. And deep inside, uh, they're not okay. How many people have shown up to funerals? I've been to a few funerals burying people, being there, brothers and sisters who committed suicide. Um, well, they didn't give us any signs. They didn't mention, but they did. Just a little bit. Hey, man, you got a minute? Can we talk after we're done? I just need to talk. Nah, we're good. That's always the response. They could only cry, and then what happens? Oh, there's a cry for help. But listen, no matter what, it's a shout for help, a scream for help, passing a letter for help, or a cry for help. What's the end word? Help. Think about it. I don't care if somebody is putting an SOS and a smoke signal that they need help. They need help. If you get that 1:30 in the morning phone call, got a minute? How many of you guys pick your phone up? But I guarantee if it was for somebody else, you guys would. But for the people who you are supposed to be working with, or brotherhood, or sisters, I guarantee if it was your family, blood family, your niece, your nephew, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your aunt, whoever, you'd be picking that phone up. But yet, a lot of people out there won't, for members, first responders who are going through a rough time, or their families. Look, let me tell you something. If a family member were to call you, hey, can you come here? Someone, they still won't pick up. How many actually do? Handful, maybe. We got to do better for each other. In the military, we called it policing each other up, and that is never a bad thing. You got to police your buddy up. It was never picking up of their uniforms. And again, everything in the military, man, they get their uniforms ate up. Police them up, please. Be a battle buddy. What that's teaching is you guys to look after each other, not babysit. Everybody wants to use that word. I'm not babysitting him or her. They're grown ass men or women, pardon my French. But that's negative. You're looking at the negative side. That's everybody's reaction. I'm not a babysitter. Nobody said you were. It's called helping each other down to the littlest of things. You guys got to build a strong team, and a strong team isn't just knowing your position on the piece, being there for each other off duty. And when you start initiating looking after each other, you build a stronger community in the departments you work for. You know how to look after each other. I don't care if it was somebody I met once or twice on the fire ground and they got a hold of me somehow. I will be there for them. That's the mentality you guys have to have. Nobody gets left behind. 143 members who committed suicide last year nationwide, they got left behind. Guarantee it. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable when a member who is asking for help, calling for help, needing help, and the first thing people say, we'll talk to the EAP. Like, come on, man. They are trusting their team to be there and maybe just listen, because we all go through life. Excuse me. We have not just on the job, but every single buddy. When they say you're bringing life's experiences to the job, that's everything: the good, the bad, how you got to where you're at, everything you've been through, gain, loss, ups, downs, whatever. You bring it to the team. so everybody could learn something, not just fighting fire, but you might have had an experience in life that could benefit. Again, another excuse for that. I ain't telling them my past history. No, they don't need to know. You don't have to divulge anything, but you can sit there and be like, how did I get through this? I have experience in what you're going through, but this is what I had to do, and this is what works for me. Now you just passed on a golden nugget that helps with the neck up to the head up. And that's the goal we got to do on this job. We see so much and we carry so much and we bring it home, and it's not fair to our family. Now I'm going to dig on the responders. We are all responsible for decisions, our thoughts, and our emotions. Just, we'll throw that out there. We are responsible to make sure we are healthy. It is not our loved ones' full responsibility. Yes, we're in a marriage or a relationship, we're responsible for one another to an extent. But when you're out there in the field, before you come home, don't hit that bar. I had a rough day, I'm going to the bar. It's a bad idea. I am straight telling you to sit there to say, I just had 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer, 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila, 4. Now you have resolved nothing. That's not a healthy way to handle a bad call. You got to sit there and look at it from a sober, clear mind. A lot of us don't want to confront our emotions. I'm guilty of that. I did that because they're scary. Nobody wants to confront what they've seen, but they want to, because we find it's easier to just let it be than to deal with it. That's not courage. Courage is facing your fears or your emotions or anything that's going to be a challenge for you, facing it head on and overcoming it. That's courage. They say that alcohol is liquid courage. No, it's not. It's not. There's nothing courageous about drinking alcohol and having to then overcoming it. No, you're just being stupid. Um, Smart people. Now, I'm not saying don't drink. All right, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I won't touch it again. I don't see the need to. And we'll do that. We'll talk about confidence versus pride in another one for that, because I know where it'll end. If you're not an alcoholic and you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to drink. I had a bad day, then another bad day, then another bad," you're getting into a bad habit. No, the good habit would be, I'm going to deal with this, and then maybe during a game or a happy moment, your buddies are hanging out, and then yeah. But, and that's for the sober people. Us recovering alcoholics stick to the fruit juice. But we're just saying that out there as first responders, is open for first responders. But there's a healthier way to deal with that, and there's a healthier way for the family to deal with that. You know, again, we bring work home. It doesn't matter when you're working a medic unit and you're stripping the clothes off and you're coming through the basement and you're throwing a robe on, you're still bringing work home with you in here. No matter what. I hear that all the time. When I come home, I just strip off, throw on some gym clothes. I go, that's not, that's, you're still bringing work home in here, people. That's just physically taking the stuff off. Here, you're still bringing the work home. And that's the important thing is we got to find a way to fix this without going other routes. The reason why I speak of experience of suicide and why this hits different is, yeah, I've been there. There's been times, a few times, I've been sitting in my room and contemplating eating around. And where was I? My mind, I was never sober. I was drinking heavily. So as you can see, depression, addiction, or PTSD. We'll put PTSD up there with depression. All right, they're neck to neck. They go hand in hand. Addiction is a suicide. Think about it. We have a job that's a beautiful job. We're helping people, we're saving lives. But here's the thing, how are we going to save ourselves? How? There's so many things out there. We are so in a rush to run into a burning building. We are so much in a rush to make that call to save somebody. You know, cops, I'm not familiar with your line, but I know you guys are there to save people. But what about yourself? What about your family? We got to find that balance. It's bad enough the families have to share us with the community. They understand that. We miss birthdays, we miss anniversaries, we miss holidays. So it is unfair, but they understand that. What is extremely unfair is you not taking care of yourself so they can have you around in a good spot on your days off. How many times have everybody went on vacation and rather than, maybe a handful actually enjoyed vacation, but went on vacation to drink? I just wanted to relax. And then the family's like, well, we got to do stuff on our own. Or they had a fight with you because you're sitting there drinking. Or you're so depressed you don't want to do nothing. On your days off, we get 4 off a week. Some, longer, some work 2, and some, depending on your schedule, but you get an extensive amount of days off. How many of you actually just go and you don't have to go do stuff with the family, but even go to a walk or go to a park or just play chess or just watch and hang out with the family without having to have a beer in the hand, maybe a drugs, some alcohol, and you're down in the basement or the garage. That's not healthy. It's not fair to the families to have to see that downward spiral. And then you're not opening up to them. And then you get pissed off when they say, man, and they say that this ain't going nowhere. You're not who you were, going back to what I discussed earlier. Now you're getting pissed off and adding fuel to the fire. You're drinking more. You're saying she don't and it comes not to, I need help, to you're imagining things, you, I'm okay. When deep inside, we're not. It's not fair to the families. And as a first responder, we got to start looking at it from their viewpoint as well. If you really want to get an understanding as you're recovering, this goes into accountability. Ask them, what was I like? What did I have an effect on? Why? What did I do to contribute to your new thought process or your change? Because everything ain't on them. They understand we got a job that's taxing, but they also understand too, we have to look after ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves so that way we could take care of our families in a healthy way. If anybody has little kids out there, what do you think that's doing to them? I'm not trying to anger people. I'm just trying to send something out there to get this thinking. Because we don't use this 100%. Let's be honest. We don't. We just go to work, we come home, we don't really think. We fall into that complacency of being reactive, but not proactive. Proactive would be, I have a job. I know it's stressful. I know it's going to tax me. I got to find healthier ways. And you know what? There's a lot of members out there that go see therapy. Nothing wrong with talking to a therapist. Sure beats talking to the bottle. Sure beats you losing your job. Sure beats your family calling us and saying he ate a 9. Because that's where that's going. As a first responder, we got to take care of ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us. We could ask for help, we could talk, but I now walk through and see, I got all this comes on me. The healthier I am, the less worry my team has to worry about. Seriously, when you're good, right in mind, and you're healthy and you're balanced, Your team has nothing to worry about. And now then you start seeing things clear. You start seeing, and you could be a role model. Your family will start loving that because you're taking care of yourself. All the young guys coming on this job, this is how, and I know a lot of people ain't gonna want to hear this. When I see people in the gym, yo, Rich, I'm taking the fire exam. Hey man, I'm in the next class. I pull them aside. I have a sit down with them, a heart to heart, a little powwow. It's crazy. You could be on the gym floor, it could be on the mats, it could be in the sauna. And this is what I usually talk to the new guys about coming on the job, in the academy. I said, listen, this is a great job, but it comes with a price. So not everything is glory bound. I said, you got to look past that ego. So there's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times. He said, all they're talking about in the academy. I said, and then when you come out of the academy, talk to me. They only talk about the perks of the job, the good side of the job. They don't talk about the bad side. They don't talk about the members who commit suicide, the addiction, the alcohol, and yes, there is spousal abuse on this job. I think the police will call it DV, domestic violence. There is that on the job. They don't talk about people going to rehab. They don't talk about the stuff we see. They don't talk about the dead babies, mom and dad dying, people killing themselves. I'm just throwing this out there because we've seen it all. Come on, anybody who's a first responder, we've seen it all. And the more we talk about what we see, you don't have to go into the gory details, but talking about it actually does feel good about it. That's why there is therapy. That's why this channel is open. Yes, you don't have to give names, no, but we could throw it out there, get it off our chest. It feels good. But the departments, they don't talk about that. So when I have new guys coming on the job, I sit down and I tell them, are you sure you want this? If they say yeah, and I ask them why. Well, it's going to come with the cost. And I tell them, some don't follow through with it. I'm not a scare tactic. Some do complete it. But then in the end, I say, if you take this job and you come on, you need to find a healthy way so you don't go down there. I go to the gym, the physical, that's great. Going to the gym, it's phenomenal. That's only a part of it. You got to be proactive and realize you got to pick up good habits to make sure you can handle what you see here, and you can make sure you handle your emotions, mind, body, spirit. Because if you start going down that downward spiral, his job is great to get, you could lose it. And you got to find that. And like I tell everybody, you see a lot of bad stuff. Or I grew up in Philly, or I grew up in this. There's a difference seeing stuff as a civilian and then seeing stuff where you got to respond as a member, as a law enforcement officer, or as a firefighter, EMT. It's a different ballgame, man. What you see as a civilian, civilians could walk away. Once responders come on scene, the behind the scenes, man. You're in a medic unit, you close that ambulance doors, it's a whole different world, man. You're on the fire, we carry baggage home, fire death. We carry baggage home. And what people don't want to talk about, I'm all right, I'm good, but deep inside you're not. You got to get that out. You can't wait till it's reactive and build and build and build and build and then explode. And now you're just a totally different person. Got to talk about it. Put all that pride, all that BS aside. We don't talk about our feelings or our thoughts or what we've been through. That's hokey. That's da 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 da. That's weak. No, let me tell you what a strong man is. I grew up with my father. Always told me a real man does cry. A real man, we're women too, but this is the way Bear with me, take it as you want, and process the information to make it work for you. Real men don't hold in their emotions and shut down. Real men do cry. Real men do talk about stuff. Real men get shit off their shoulders. Pardon my French. Get stuff off their shoulders. Why? Because we have to be able to provide and protect our family. If we're all screwed up here, how are we really going to be any use for our families? So, for the families of the first responders, understand, yes, we do see stuff. Yes, there are times we don't want to talk, but you also have to accept, I'm trying to find the words. You can only do so much and the rest falls on us. Guys who are girls, if your significant other or family says, come talk to me, what's going on? Talk to them. Don't shut down. You don't have to lay the gory details of what you see. Families of the first responders, continue to be supportive, but know your limitations. I'm just being honest, and nobody wants to hear that. But you can only go so far until it's like throwing rocks against a brick wall. It's going to bounce off. But this was important because if aftermath has to change on firefighter care. If we work in the fire department, we have to have in the academy or annual classes. Now I'm going to go into what I feel has to be done. If you're in a 9-month academy, focus on mental health. Not just physical, not going out there and doing fireground tactics and suppression and EMS stuff. Take time and focus on mental health because that is so important on this job. It affects us and it affects our families. Think about it. We bring shit home, like I said, it affects our families. And not in a positive way, in a negative way. When we're getting hammered and drunk, it affects our families in a negative way. We don't stress that enough in the academies. So I'm putting it out there. Why? Because I have been there and I am a recovering alcoholic. I know. We do not stress that enough in the academy. And if we have a 6-month academy, 9-month academy, 1-year academy, I don't care. We've got to do better and provide members with the ability to handle what we have to encounter in our head. If we do not do that, we will continue to see the numbers climb with first responder suicides. And from what I could understand and see, nobody cares about that. Everybody shows up for a funeral, and this is why I'm going to get back on track. When I see people show up for a funeral, how many of you guys and girls who show up for a fallen member really did reach out to try to help that member? I guarantee if you look deep inside, put your pride away, none of you. 0. That's unacceptable. We have to be given the tools to make sure we also look after each other. Nobody gets left behind. If a member is having a problem, we have to be able to recognize it and be proactive and respond, not react. Respond accordingly. It's a difference. But it isn't touched upon. We ain't got the time. That's not important. Well, you know what? No, I take that back. It's touched upon and that's it. That's like doing touch-up paint. Spot looks good. Let's move on. That's a touch-up. We're not focusing on that and we could give people the tools to go and fight structural fires or handle a disorderly citizen as a cop. But we're not giving the proper tools to make sure we're health up here. Oh, if you guys have problems, call the EAP. Here you go. Come on, man. That's a quick patchwork. That's not giving us the tools to protect ourselves and help ourselves to recognize the dangers of the road we're going down. It's not given the tools to protect ourselves, to take care of ourselves so our family's in a good spot. It's not. And when I went to rehab, I heard that same thing. Man, if only they give us the tools to recognize and how to respond accordingly and to get the help we need. Because let me tell you something, man, there's plenty of doctors out there. It's not, no. But if you say, hey, how you fight this type of fire situation, like people could name off 10, 15 different things. And then go on YouTube and find another 10 different things. How do what about this type of patient who's been in MVC and this goes bad? Oh man, 10 different things. But when it comes to mental health, call EAP. It's unacceptable, man. You guys got to take care of yourself physically because you got cancer screenings, you got diabetes, what else? Hypertension. Make sure you eat right, don't engorge, work out. We focus on that. We don't focus on this. This has to be strong. We got to have that balance. So to not focus on that in the academy, that has to change nationwide. We had to change that. Otherwise, those numbers are going to go 150, 180, 200, and it's going to climb and climb. And it's not fair to the families. It's not fair to the department. It's not fair even to us, to where we have all this information out there. Oh, you got to go do the research yourself. But we're going to know if we're in the academy and and they are preaching, and again, I talked to many members at rehab. We spent hours talking about where we feel each of our respective departments can be fixed. And was the top of the list mental health. Always made number one, and everything else trickled down. And it isn't fair on the family or the member not to be given the proper tools and the guidance to handle this stuff healthy. I understand people people do drink, and if you have control over it and you're not an addict, it's great. I still say don't touch it when you're in a shitty or in a bad spot. Don't touch it. And if you are a recovering alcoholic, yeah, don't touch it at all. It ain't going to do good. But again, think about this. For a split second, you do feel good when you drink, right? What happens when you consistently drink? You start feeling worse and worse and worse. Then you're thinking about everything. You're drinking more. You're thinking about it. Now you're hugging the porcelain toilet, waking up the next morning. The problem is still there. Family leaves you, everything falls apart, girl split, took the kids, took the dog. Now you're at home, or boyfriend took the kids, boyfriend, whatever, don't matter. Now you got a gun in your hand. Been there. Luckily, I wasn't too far gone. There are others who are not that lucky. And it don't take a rocket science to figure out why. But what it does imply is we need to do better at giving our members in the academy the proper tools to do a checkup from the get-go. And I hope, in the best of my ability, I hope I was, again, and this is all new to me, but it's crazy how you run things through your head all day. This is how this is going to sound. This is the way this is going to be. And it don't quite come out the way you want it. Sometimes you miss stuff. Sometimes you didn't feel you relayed the knowledge good enough. It's just, this is all new to me. But I felt the aftermath of we could do better after reading that 143 members died nationwide from suicide really struck a bone. And I'm always doing research like that. because it's important. It shows where, as a departments nationwide, can improve in the academy. Now, even if they decide to run it, come on, even if it's like, well, the academy, it's going to be hard. We got to redo the program, then redo the program. That's excuses. You could add other nationwide. I've seen them add on other stuff and other stuff and other stuff. But they're not adding in important stuff as much as making sure we have the proper ability to maintain and recognize red flags going on in our life. Encourage. Let me see. The academy is where everything starts. It's where you learn to be a fireman or a cop or an EMT or a paramedic. The academy is what's supposed to instill proper, good habits, turning them into everyday life saving skills for yourself. We give life saving skills for fallen members, members hurt on the job, life saving skills for civilians. But what about life saving skills for ourselves? The academy should where it starts at. Now, if it's put in the academy now for pre-existing members in the field, then you bring them to the academy. Hey guys, we're going to have class for 2 days, 3 days, maybe a tour. 4-day class. Come in on your day shifts. Boom, if you want, you can move numbers around. Come in. We're going to handle this. We're going to talk about this, and we're going to have a good 4-day program on everything. And people just want to, and then those who, oh man, they want to bitch, whine, pardon my French, they want to complain and cry. It's unacceptable because you're learning tools to help another person and help yourself. And the people that complain about everything, that means they don't want to deal with it because they're probably doing stuff like that all day, every day, and they don't want to be Johnny on the spot. Well, it's not about you on the job only. Remember, you got to take care of yourself, but you're taking care of yourself so you can watch the person to the left, to the right, to the rear, to the front, depending on where you are in the shield wall or the phalanx, or platoon lines, formation, doesn't matter. It's all the same. You got to look after each other, and it does start with you. Healthier you makes you a better ability to look after, and that's what this job is about: looking after your brother and your sister. When you do that, the unit becomes stronger. It's a proven fact. Look at the armed forces. Look at throughout history, the Spartans especially. When they were looking after each other, they were strong. That's where the word Army Strong comes from. We look after each other. We're mentally healthy. We're emotionally healthy. We're physically healthy. Now we're healthy and beneficial to look after our brother and our sister, and they don't have to worry much about us because we're taken care of. Yes, we may have to go get help from other avenues, and that's perfectly fine. That shows a strong man or woman is one who knows they need help and they go get it. They don't bottle it up. Sign of weakness. True strength is knowing when you need help. So I implore you guys, please think about that. This channel is just something that I really wanted to hammer on, and bring to light that the aftermath, we can do better as a department, as a whole, as an individual. Remember that ripple effect I told you about? You drop a pebble, ripple effect changes everything in a positive manner. Drop another ripple effect, goes out, changes everything. You look at it as change is bad. It's not. Change is beautiful. You drop that, you change yourself. Now the positive effect of, man, this guy or girl is getting help. They got good tools on mental health and awareness. Let's see this stuff. Let's talk to them. And that's how positive change happens. It starts with you positively changing yourself. And the department, nationwide departments, need to change and put 100% focus, also making it important on mental health. 143 members dying nationwide last year is unacceptable. So I just wanted to get this out there today. Please leave a comment, a remark, anything you want. Feedback, I could always use it. Make something better next week. So same time, same channel next week, 2 o'clock. I already know what I'm going to talk about next week. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. All right, guys, take care. Watch your six. Please look after each other. And most of all, look after you and get stronger within yourself. And don't listen to what anybody says or calling you weak or anything like that, because anybody who says that, they're weak themselves and they know it. You're strong. And actually next week we might, not might, we're going to start off, we lead with an affirmation because that's going to be part of it. And I want to instill good behavior and good tools. So the way this is, there's going to be days where we talk about stuff like this that I've read and I've researched that I want to address. And there's going to be other times where we have techniques and drills and tactics to help with recovery. So next week we're going to start off with a affirmation and a stoic saying. Probably going to most likely going to be Epictetus. All right, you guys have a good one. Be careful and take care.